What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are returning to Gundam Sentinel. Last time, the new Decides abandoned Pazoon and blew it up. They moved to Ayers City, where they fought against Task Force Alpha. While the fight was dragging out, the Lunar Home Fleet joined in. Also helping the new Decides was the ANO Fleet. This time, the Battle of Ayers will conclude. Cod and Ryu face off, and the younger new Decides members start to feel the futility of all of this. So let's get into this. One thing I forgot to mention last time is before the assault on the Ayers began, Ryu was upgraded to the XS Gundam. The MSA 0011 EXT XS Gundam, also called Extra Superior Gundam, adds several upgrades to the S Gundam. It still has 3 cockpits, but Ryu pilots it with the help of Alice. Alice can also take full control over the unit as she is constantly learning. The chest armor now has an I-field generator. 2 extra thrusters are added to the back. It still has the incom, but it also has the reflector incom, which helps deflect beam attacks. This unit has a mobile armor mode called G-Cruiser. Weapons include 60mm Vulcans, 6 beam cannons, a beam saber, and a smart beam gun. COD uses the incom system on the Mark V to help out the INO fleet against the Earth Home Fleet. The FAS team moves in. They don't have any data on the enemy Gundam. The Home Fleet flagship sends in the intel on the Mark V. Crypt and the FATS team moves in, and they all fire missile barrages. COD barely dodges the explosions. The G-forces are so strong, he shattered a few teeth. Why are you biting down so hard? The incom system is now inoperable. He whips out his beam saber. During this time is when we started seeing I-field beam sabers that can double as projectiles. This novel actually does a better explanation for how this works. They liken it to a plastic bag holding water. The I-field is the bag containing the beam juices. Once you remove the I-field, it splashes everywhere. You can create a controlled splash and turn it into a projectile. This is why some beam sabers can fire projectiles, and some beam rifles can have mini beam sabers. The statement also makes the assumption that one-year war beam sabers were probably super dangerous before the I-field. He fires on the FATS team. They all scatter. Grissom is killed. No, not Grissom. I just heard of your name 2 seconds ago. The FATS resembled the prototype Double Zeta full armor Gundam, but it doesn't even come close to the powerful machine that Judo Ashita wielded. The FATS doesn't even have a hyper mega beam cannon. These units were considered paper tigers. COD chases the retreating FATS unit. He stabs and takes out Aldrin's unit. Who's Aldrin? Crypt and COD begin fighting. COD takes out the right arm of the FATS. However, the arm was about to fire a cannon and it goes off next to COD. The Mark V is damaged. He goes to retreat. The FATS is even more damaged. Crypt has to eject. He watches his unit explode and he puts out a distress signal. Ryu is informed that the FATS team has been wiped out. He is the only one who could stop the Mark V now, Manning says. Ryu is upset, but Mannings goes, "Relax, we lost half of humanity during the one-year war. These are rookie numbers." He learns the lesson of kill or be killed. Ryu heads to the moon to intercept the Gundam, while Alice does a little thinking. He spots the Mark V. While this is happening, Alice learns about revenge after hearing the 2 FATS pilots that went down. The S Gundam attacks, but it does nothing to the Mark V. Alice was created to help wage war, but Alice starts realizing that war is senseless and incomprehensible. She views war as a malfunction and wonders if she is a malfunction. They can't let the Mark V land. He has to move. Ayers Cities is mostly underground. Crypt in the Swai tries to find Mayor Pinefield. Ayers City also happens to have a mass driver system. Cray heads into an underground tunnel. He gets out of his mobile suit and heads to the mayor's office. The mayor is wearing an old one-year war era high command uniform, but no rank and insignia. Homeboy's holding on to the glory days. Many of the people of Ayers want to assist the new Decides. Cray doesn't like that they have to rely on the youths and the olds to help them with their cause. It isn't their battle. The mayor literally says the people have no problems being pawns. The two begin devising a defensive strategy. Offshore's White Force begins siege defense on Ayers, but they are outnumbered. They pull back and are now on the defensive. He realizes they are already in enemy territory as EFF pushed in so fast. The White Force needs to run support for the Mark V. That is when the Mark V approaches. He is hit, but the White Force is able to provide covering fire as they flee. COD is informed that Cray is talking to the mayor as they speak. He decides to head to their location. The Zeta Pluses and Rear Roots attacks the White Force. They're able to land on the surface. That is when Alice starts to panic. The Gundam begins doing things on its own. Ryu calls Alice a whore. The XS makes Alice care for its own self-interest, it seems. March 17th was the end of the first day of the battle at Ayers City. The fighting continued and grew more intense. New Decides and Ayers City fought together, but the city has been breached and their territory is shrinking. Von Braun contacts them. They do protest EFF's response, but they're not going to do a damn thing to help them out. Many other cities on the moon have said the same thing. You're on your own. The mayor thinks perhaps it is a fruitless endeavor. Things are starting to look grim on their end. The least they could do is break their siege before going down. March 24th, the new Decides begin their escape operation from Ayers City as things start to collapse. The INO fleet has lost half of their forces and many fled to Side 5 airspace. The new Decides converge on the government dome. The mayor says he will go down with the city, but they must live. He is talking to Cray, Cod, Offshore, and Satome. Their next plan is to commandeer the mass driver system to shoot past the Federation fleet and make a run for it. Everyone gets resupplied before heading out. The Mark V was too complicated for the mechanics, so they couldn't really fix the incom system, and he could only use it a few more times. They also added a micro-missile launcher. Their situation is looking quite grim. Cray's team will take care of the spaceport, while Cod will secure the mass driver. The Ayers City militia started chaos around the government dome to create a distraction. Bless you, cannon fodder. Ryu is on standby. They are told to sortie and head to the government dome. Ryu stops sucking on his coffee-flavored nutrient tube. I love sucking coffee-flavored nutrients from a tube. They are all exhausted far beyond belief. Tex West and Sigmund Shade launch in the Zeta Pluses with the Gundam. Offshore in the Zeku Eins takes out a few units. His men come to help instead of fleeing. One of the kids gets shot down. Offshore focuses his attention on the Zeta Pluses, who move in. Ryu and Cod begin fighting each other with their incom systems. The Mark V sidesteps an attack and fires his incoms. With quick thinking, the XS uses the beam smart gun to shield himself from the attack. They have an incom battle. Ryu's incoms are shot down. The two move in for a melee battle. While they fight, Alice realizes, I don't have to listen to my programming. I can do my own thing. War taught me this. Thanks, War. Alice begins helping out more. The XS knees the Mark V and it goes crashing into the moon. These actions weren't of Ryu's will. He calls Alice a whore again. The writer makes it a point to mention that Ryu's testicles retreated into his body, so I'm passing that knowledge on to you. The XS slices through the Mark V, killing Cod in the process. Before dying, Cod thinks he could finally return to Earth. Offshore finds that Cod was killed in action. Cray knew that Cod was losing it before he died. Cray was a POW during the 1-year war. He is calm, cool, and collected in the heat of the moment, unlike Cod was. He gives command of the mobile suit team to Offshore. The first wave of shuttles launch from the mass driver heading towards L1. Ayers City is completely under EFF control, all but the government dome. They were offered aid by the Principality of Xeon of all people. Remember, the people of Ayers City are Spacenoids that are pro-Earthnoid supremacy, so Pinefield finds receiving aid from Spacenoids all too ironic. Of course, it is far too late for anyone to help them in the government dome. He tells his communication officer to send a message for access to help any remaining New Decides members that are out there. This is one of the many reasons we see Titan's remnants becoming Xeon soldiers post-Grips conflict. He tells his team to leave. The mayor moves to his desk, pulls out a gun, and shoots himself. While fleeing, the mayor's communication officer sees a young boy breaking a toy of the RX-78 because he now fears the Gundam. The officer tells him that the Gundam represents justice and hands it back to him. This moment shows that the communications officer isn't going to follow in the mayor's footsteps. He isn't going to be as selfish and will actually try to make change for the next generation. Neo-Zeon forces approach the moon. It happens to be Admiral Tonning. He was the one that was suckered into taking command of Abawaku while Kycelia tried to run away. That didn't work out too well for her. Tonning's still alive. Maybe you should have surrendered, Kycelia. Tonning was captured after the battle and placed in a POW camp in Iceland. He eventually escaped and fled to Axis and joined the Axis forces. When are we going to get the Tonning Prison Break spin-off series? The Federation realizes they are fleeing and focuses on the mass driver system. Offshore continues to take down some Neros. It has been 3 hours since Ayers City has fallen, as some of the youth die under his command. He thinks to himself, maybe the previous generation sucked. Ryu and the Zeta Pluses resupply and launch again. They head in and fire on the mass driver system. Offshore and his men try to stop them. He doesn't have a propulsion pack on his Zeku Eins and is grounded on the lunar surface. A bombardment comes down on the tracks, attacking Offshore. He blacks out. He then wakes up to blurry vision, but was saved by Cray. Cray informed Offshore that Neo-Zeon was providing support. They were also the ones that accidentally shot missiles on you? Yeah, my bad. Also, you're gonna be blind for a month. Sorry about that. Cray says he will be able to fight soon, but Offshore knows this war isn't going to last much longer. March 28th, Neo-Zeon joined the battle. Because of their agreement with EFF, they can attack them, making things difficult. XS Gundam and the Zeta Pluses return to the Pegasus 3 for another mission. And that will do it for this episode. The Battle of Ayers City comes to an end. Once the Earth home fleet joined the battle, we were merely watching the New Decide's demise. With Cod's death, morale is low, but they aren't done just yet. Next time, the New Decides and Neo-Zeon will launch a giant mobile armor. Someone sacrifices their life, and Alice also makes a sacrifice as war comes to a close. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, don't call an AI with weapons a whore. Peace.